Hi guys, welcome back to 30 Days to Your First Website Design, a TutorPlus premium course. I'm Ian Yates and today we're going to talk about our contact form. Now we'll begin as always by taking a quick look at what we're going to cover in this video. Well, firstly we'll talk a little bit about usability before we jump straight into our layout file to continue with the design. Then with our form design complete, I'll leave you with an assignment before we move into the next video. Now, barely a website comes to fruition these days without including a form of some sort. Contact forms, newsletter sign-up forms, online checkouts, login forms, comment forms, they all invite users to enter information and submit it in order to complete a process. You'll remember we talked about goals and conversions earlier in the series, and forms are often a fundamental step in the user completing goals of some sort. They're also, therefore, a classic stumbling block. If ever there was a surefire way of preventing someone from completing an online process, it's presenting them with an awkward form. Take CAPTCHA for example. You'll have no doubt completed one in the past, and you'll have no doubt had to have had a couple of attempts at some point too. They're a great way of preventing spam from hitting your inbox, but they're also a significant hurdle for users. A CAPTCHA input runs a very high risk of turning users away. There being too many fields is also a turn-off. In our contact form, for example, we're only going to request the bare minimum information needed: name, email, and message. With this information, we can get in touch with the user. We don't need their address, their telephone number, shoe size, whatever. In short, we want our form to be as user-friendly and as easy to fill in as possible. Alright, let's dive into our PSD now and polish up our contact section. So we'll open up our PSD file from where we last left off. You'll notice one significant difference. For the sake of speed, I have added, let me just remove the grid there and the guides. I've added a map. We're going to implement this into the site using Google Maps. There are a couple of titles here, a little intro paragraph here, and some address details. Now we're going to add our contact form in on the right hand column. So let's begin by bringing back our guides and dragging a couple of, actually we're not going to select our map, we're going to select the mask around it and just drag a couple of guides down because we want our contact form to match up nicely with that. Now we'll begin in our column 2 folder here, and let's just add an input like so. So here we go with a rectangle tool. We'll make it white, and we're going to base it on an equal width column to this left hand column here. So that's from the gutter on the right here, and if we drag that all the way over, that comes to around about here. We won't be too particular with the heights or the dimensions of our inputs. We only need to be fairly rough with it. We can be specific when we're doing our markup. Now I'm going to select our map once again, and I'm going to copy the layer style because I want to emulate this green stripe I've put at the bottom of it. So I then go back to my input, and I'm going to paste the layer style like so. There we go. Don't need that stroke, I just need the drop shadow, which is the green line at the bottom. I'm going to call that input 1. So that's a good start. That goes in my input there. I also want a label, and I want it to be similar to this thing here, so I'm going to add a line of text here, and we're going to call this one name. Now that wants to be not droid serif, it wants to be Arial, just the same as our body text. It's a dark grey. I'll have to be more specific about that in a second, and we'll just have it regular at 14 points. I'm not sure what the letter spacing I used was 0, so I'll just correct this colour, copy, and paste like so. Okay, so removing our guides now shows us we have our name perfectly clearly. Shunt that on a couple of pixels to line it up. So we have one input, very good. And now we'll add an additional input by copying that. That's going to be for the email. So we'll drag that down slightly. Up it goes. And we'll edit this text here. Email. Now lastly, we want a message input, a text area. So we'll drag that down to there. We'll bring up our guides again. So that matches the bottom of our other one. Okay, now this would suggest to me that my inputs are way too large here. If I just, yes, if I go to the actual pixels, you see these are unnecessarily big because I would like this message really to be larger. So I'm going to make this considerably smaller. So if I pick my direct selection tool and select the two bottom nodes on my shape here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 pixels higher. And then I do exactly the same for my email input. Like so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Now I'll shunt this whole input upwards. And the same with my message input, so that the labels are more or less horizontally centered there. That's going to be our message folder. I don't want that, like so. Alright. Okay, now we'll just make this a touch larger. There we go. Okay, so that's fairly clear. Now we're going to need a submit button, so I'd like that actually to be down here. We'll base it on the circle, such as the call to action above. I'm going to have it align with our contact information here. So we'll begin with this with an ellipse, and we'll just plonk that. Actually, we'll centralize it with that call to action above there. That's probably quite neat. We'll make it green, and we're going to put it in its own folder, which we'll call submit. Okay, we'll make it a little bit larger. Oh, we've added an effect as well, so we'll remove layer style because we don't want that drop shadow on that one. There we go. Centered on that gutter. And now we need a little label, so we'll just put send. We're going to use our Droid serif like so. That will be italic and 12 pixels and white, and then I will just center those two like so. Okay, so that's a fairly clear button as well. See how we're looking there. Okay, and there's one more thing we need. We need to consider the fact that our form information is going to have to be validated. We need the email, for example, to be a valid email address, and we need to make sure that the name is entered, so that's going to be a required field. So we need to cater for our validation messages, and we'll do that by adding a second text element here, and I'm going to align it to the right and then drag it over to nearly the end there. I'd like it to be according to our red. That's maybe a little strong. Actually, I think I'm going to make it equal to our slightly paler red there, slightly less aggressive. Now that's going to be another Droid Serif italic. And I'm going to put something along the lines of, please enter a valid email address. It's perfectly clear. Now this shadow will alter that colour as well to highlight our field, so that the user knows that this field requires further attention. So that's what our invalid fields are going to look like. I'd like that to be a little clearer, so I'm going to use 14 pixel font instead of the 12. But that kind of sorts it out. Now again, as I've said, we can do some further designing and touching up in the browser itself. We've got a basic idea of what our form is going to look like. This deals with pretty much everything we need, but we can tinker with it later on. Okay, we're going to Command and S, save that as it is. That's starting to look like quite a convincing landing page, don't you think? Okay, it's time for some further reading. We're going to jump back into our presentation as ever. There we go. This article on Web Design Tuts is a short series of 2 tutorials on building up a sign-up and registry form. This is the first part of the series, and it deals purely with the design aspects and sorting that out in Photoshop. And before we jump into the next video, click on that. I have an assignment form for you, as usual. Much in the vein of the last few videos, I'd like you to continue with the PSD file we're building, adding, of course, the contact form. Next time, in 30 days to your first website design, we'll be looking into our footer section. I'm Ian Yates, and from all of us here at Tuts Plus, thank you for watching.